studios in New York City. This is Charlie Rose.
Björk is here. Her voice is unquestionably one of the most unique and recognizable in the world. She has segued successfully from punk rock bands to a solo career, which has included such albums as Debut, Post, and Homogenic. Last year, she won the Best Actress Award at the 2000 Cannes Film Festival for her performance in Dancer in the Dark. Her music for the film was nominated for both an Oscar and a Golden Globe. Here is a brief look at her career.
Factory, and the machines, they make these rhythms, and I just start dreaming, and it all becomes music.
Her latest CD is entitled Vespertine. I am pleased to welcome here for the first time to this table for a conversation about a life and a music and whatever else we might talk about here, this native of Iceland who has won some rather remarkable reviews in terms of people talking. If you are not as familiar with her work as I suspect most people are familiar, here is what Steve Greenlee in the Boston Globe said. The most consistently inventive, exciting music of the past decade has been made by Björk. Her tunes are rooted in the past, yet advance the entire genre of pop music. They shimmer with sweetness and innocence, and they scare the hell out of you. They're melodically lovely and violently happy. Each time she releases a new CD, it evokes a reaction, so this is what music is going to sound like in a few years. Yet here it is. Ben Ratliff of the New York Times, her sound as a singer, that is to say her personality, phrasing, timbre, accent, the melodic adornment she uses on any and all songs is overwhelming and stubbornly her own. It reduces everything else going on around it to something much less consequential. It is her singing. What else do you need to know? That's rather
I go shy.
overwhelming.
Definitely go shy.
You do go shy, don't you?
Yeah.
Because it's embarrassing to hear such praise? Because you love the music and you've loved the music, and I mean it is a definition of you in terms of...
Yeah, I guess when you're as obsessed with music as I am, you kind of tend to kind of lock into the sort of roller coaster ride it is to just the next song, the next song, the next song, the next song, the next song. So you usually don't give yourself time to stop and look back. Maybe sort of a little fear that that it will confuse you or set you off the track or something. So when you hear things like that, it's sort of a point of view that you haven't even dared to even go there. I mean, not only that it's so flattering, but also just to see it from the outside, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think of yourself, I mean, do you look at you see yourself just inside the trees, but you don't see the forest at all much?
I don't think it's my role.
Yeah, to do that.
No, I think sometimes when I do each album, I do interviews, and then I sort of get a little bit smitten by the seeing it from the outside, which is maybe a little bit healthy because it's also bad to get too stuck in your own. But then I just want equally, like really quickly back to the tree, and because it stops you can't work with your with that sort of view. It makes it hard to be in a studio when you have to roll up your sleeves and actually do some proper work. It comes in the way, you know.
Yeah. But so the growth is natural then. I mean, what you put in this album is simply a natural extension of where you were, not because you were building on what you had been. You know.
Yeah, very much so. Like you plant a seed. This album is maybe a result of maybe a seed I planted 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5, and both sometimes collaborations with people I was working with, and or lyrics, and it's just sort of happened to be the place I was at the time, you know.
Yeah. But you planted the seed 20 years ago or 10 years ago, and now you can see it as the flower or the tree or whatever.
I guess so. I it's okay to get a little bit mushy, and
a little bit,
just a little, and see it. Okay, wow, you know, especially because it's 3 years ago since I started on this album.
Yeah.
So you sort of, but not too much, you know. It can be. It's a dangerous trap if you get too nostalgic. Because you can't do new stuff, you know.
Yeah, but the new stuff comes from. Do you know where the new stuff comes from? I mean, does it, or does it just come?
Well, it's on all sort of different levels, I guess. Part of me is very academic.
Yeah.
So there'll be like the sound collecting. Process, for example, is very academic, and you sit down and you collect. This is the kind of flavor, and you spend like hours and hours for months, even years, and until you have a library of the sound family you want for the beats. So that is kind of almost like being a librarian, you know.
Classifying.
Yeah, and then part of me is like kind of the singer, maybe the opposite of that, you know, just kind of more a force of I should be as know as little about that as possible, just be ready to document it, ready with a recorder when something happens. So yeah, it's and then sometimes there's fruits here, and then a year later there's fruits there, and you just have to sort of attend it, I guess. Yeah.
What do you like about this album? Define it for me. Tell me about it.
I guess I managed to be truthful about a lot of things. I guess I'm even though I blow my own trumpet, quite proud of that. And I didn't compromise on a lot of things I could have. And
a lot of things you wanted to say.
Yeah, also just because I saw how the sound world of this album should be before I started doing it 3 years ago. And I stuck with it, explaining it to the engineers, explaining it to everybody. And right at the end, when it was ready, people that were working with me would say, okay, now I get what you were talking about 3 years ago. So it's sort of yeah, I'm happy with that. But then again, a lot of things happen on this album that nobody could have planned. So
like what?
I guess that's maybe the more adventurous thing is kind of maybe the collaborations. Yeah, because as much as I can be disciplined with myself, I have no interest in controlling the collaborations, because if I would know exactly what I want, I would just do it myself, right? But you get people involved because you want surprises, you know? So...
Most of all, you want surprises. You want somebody to take what you do and then sort of bounce it off and then create something that's even bigger and better and different and
yeah, like
more powerful.
Yeah, something that you would never ever even have thought of, you know? So these things were quite magical.
Yeah. My sense about you in reading and knowing a little bit about your music is that you have always been in love with sound, all kinds of sound.
Yeah.
Not lyrics, sound.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Tell me about that. I mean, all kinds of sound.
Yeah, it's just the one most all-embracing, forgiving, understanding thing there is. Just in the full abstraction of it. It doesn't ask any questions. Yeah. And you don't have to explain yourself. And it's the one world where that can cover like all the emotional levels of you. I mean, I feel a lot, at least I'm the sort of person that when it comes to say something like language or just communicating on a daily basis, I feel like I'm trying to put an ocean through a straw. Yeah. And with music,
because you feel so much, hear so much.
Maybe just because I'm not very good at it, you know. But with music, it doesn't feel like that. And it's not only me making music; it's also listening to other people's music. That it's yeah, it's just like a warm embrace, you know.
Mm. Have other people had much influence on you, other than collaborators, but in terms of other artists, not collaborators?
Mm-hmm.
Other voices, other sounds, other songwriters?
I would really love to say yes, but I don't think so. I think because I was confronted with this dilemma so early, yeah, was that I went to music school and at 5, and they were all trying to teach me about German classical music, and I couldn't relate to it and felt like I was being force-fed with tradition, and that wasn't mine. And so very early on, I was I think it was not only me, it was also Icelandic people who were of my generation were craving for an Icelandic music, an Icelandic sound, and an Icelandic, somebody who would express Icelandic reality, and it would be taken seriously, because Icelandic music had this kind of minority complex that it was only good if it was from abroad. And I sort of strived with my headmaster at school. He would call me in his office and we would kind of have these debates, and I disagreed with how his school was organized, and it was kind of not designed to make people, the students, give and flourish and bring things out of them. It was kind of more designed to force things inside them. Yeah. And I didn't agree with that, and I thought we had a lot to say and a lot to give. So, and because there was no such thing as, well, vaguely, I'm generalizing, because of course there have been certain people that made Icelandic music, but I sort of had to kind of, me and my generation, to almost invent it and base it on things like nature or the mountains, or the truth that it actually was a city. Iceland is not just Vikings jumping about. It's actually
a culture and a society and a people. And
it's modern.
Yes.
But it's still nature. Right. And let's face it. And let's document this reality like now. So part of to be able to do that was to deny music as a, but just take on to translate reality into songs. So I think part of me and my generation definitely didn't want to sound like the Rolling Stones or the Foreigners. And because we've been a colony for 600 years, it was kind of about time to sound like us. So I think there was sort of a punk rebellion going on there, saying, I don't want to sound like any music.
Yeah. And you found an audience that was willing and was with an appetite for that because of all the things you said, because there was a sense of wanting to have pride in someone who was authentic and unique and of their own.
Yeah, I think when I was like 16, there would be all these punk bands in Reykjavik, and we would be one of the first ones who would actually sing in Icelandic. It was like unheard of. So there was a big, it was a big thing. It was a big statement.
With songs that you'd written yourself.
Yeah. About just walking down the street in Iceland. There were no songs like that before. It was all about being on Trafalgar Square. Or
it was all about all kinds of other passions that were common to everybody.
Yeah, or some foreigners long time ago did, you know. And it was, you know, yeah.
And so how did you feel when you connected?
With people in Iceland?
Yes.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was an excellent period. I mean, it wasn't just me; it was a whole generation.
And today, how is it today? I mean, in terms of the music of Iceland, and in terms of did you spawn a whole new generation of artists in Iceland who, in a sense, listen to their own soul?
I think maybe I'm sort of more at the top of the iceberg. I don't think it's me personally who did it, because there was a group of people, maybe 20 people, that worked together since I was 14, putting out poetry books, putting out exhibitions, and so.
I mean, the extraordinary thing about you is that you brought together poets and writers and who were part of the who were also became musicians and used music to express their own selves. But all of a sudden, they were doing music and traveling and not doing much poetry. Yes.
Yeah.
And so they lost a sense of what it was that was closest to them. Yes.
Yeah. But I guess they're writing poetry books now.
Yeah. They're back to writing.
Yeah.
So they're okay.
Yeah.
Is that why did Sugar Cubes break up?
I think we first started as a little company that wanted to change Iceland. And then as a joke, we started a pop band. And then the world found out about it, and we did that for 5 years, and it was sort of 5 years longer than we thought it would. So it was very, I guess the poets had to get back to their book writing, you know.
And so that was it.
But it was very nice. I mean, we still worked together, and we still put out poetry. The company we formed as teenagers, we still put out records and
Are you best friends?
Books.
And these are the people that are closest to you. The group that was together, and all the artists and musicians and authors and poets, and you see them. You read their books.
Yeah. Maybe not literally the 6 people in the Sugar Cubes, but overall, yes. It's sort of a group of the people I grew up with.
But it was inevitable that you'd be solo, was it not?
Not for me, no. But
you never thought, even when you were part of the Sugar Cubes, that you might have a solo life?
No, I was not conscious of it until like a year or maybe 2 years before my debut came out. Yeah, and I thought it started to become obvious to me that I was being a coward, hiding my songs.
A coward?
Yeah.
Because you were scared to test them, to see if there was an audience, or to see if people would like them, or what?
Well, I was just having the best life a person can have, because I was living in Iceland, which start off with is, for me, like paradise on earth.
Why is that?
It's just got this gorgeous combination of a completely rural, raw nature, and then the modern things that you need. It's perfectly balanced, and then all my friends and all the people I loved and I known since I was born were living like in a 5-minute walk radius around me.
Yeah.
I had a little house, cook meals for people, and we would drink wine, and then once in a while I would tour the world with the sugar cubes, and it would be just right. And then I realized that these songs that I've been writing since I was a child, when I go on my walks, and always just kept them as my own private sanctuary, like to sort of remain sane kind of thing, that I had to kind of, I guess, share them. Because once in a while I would be alone at night and open a book, or I would get a craving that I couldn't understand, and it would be sort of satisfied with the right film or with the right book or with the right CD, and I would slowly start to read the back of the things and realize that actually the people who made those things, they sort of sacrificed almost everything to be able to give these things to me. So there I was, sitting in my comfortable armchair, having the most gorgeous life one can think, and when I needed that sort of craving satisfied, I was just reach out for the right book or something. And I was almost 26 at that time, and I felt it was my time to make that sort of a risk.
Do you like where you are now?
I think overall, I feel very lucky in the time, if you look at it the way that I still haven't compromised one bit, and I'm doing exactly the music I would like to be doing, and I have people still listening to me and interested in me. So I quite like that balance. You know.
That's the luckiest thing in the world. It's sometimes people describe it as being able to do good and do well. You know, it is the idea that you are listening to your own self, and there's an audience for it as well. But you're being true to yourself. You're not trying to satisfy someone else. You're satisfying yourself. But in satisfying yourself, other people are finding their own satisfaction and their own pleasure. Yes?
Well, I hope so.
Oh, you know so. Come on. Yeah. But you like it where you are now.
Yeah, I mean, I would be lying if I wouldn't tell you that right now I feel very lucky. I feel very grateful.
Yeah. Do you care about the fame aspect of it, because you've been famous for a long time? Do you wish it would go away? I mean, do you like it, or do you view it as what goes with being a performing artist?
I think there's bad sides to it, but there's also good sides to it. You know, it's and it's sort of a thing that sort of happens to you. I met enough people who do similar jobs as I do to figure out that it's not about if you want it to happen to you or you don't want it to happen to you. It sort of picks you more.
Yeah.
Seems to be that way, and
that's what happened to you.
I think so. And then you have to, I guess you just have to kind of live with it, and there are times when you don't want any of it, and you don't want the bad things that come with it, and you don't want the good things, and then
you just want to be left alone.
Yeah, but then you kind of realize, because you're going to have to deal with the bad things if you like it or not, then you might as well enjoy the good things. Which in my case is the fact that at any given time, right now, I could go, if I would write a song now, I could go into a studio and I could ask certain people to come.
And they would come.
And they would come, and I could put it out, and it would come out in a record show.
Yeah. See, that's the best thing about it. I mean, it is. Yeah. That is really the best thing.
Yeah, for sure.
It is success, whatever that word is, in terms of what you do, or whether it's with making movies. It gives you the power to be a successful writer. It gives you the power to do it again.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly.
It gives you an audience that's waiting to see what you have. And if you fail a number of times, then they may lose interest. If you have lost that creative spark that so resonated with an audience. But it does. It's that power that makes success for an artist, I think, the most powerful, the most satisfying.
Yeah. I guess it's that idea that you get an idea, and then it's like having a dream, and before the day is over, it can be true, you know. So it's the ultimate dream come true situation. I mean, obviously, I would never once say that isn't a lot of hard work, for sure.
Sure.
But
if you're going to be good, you have to work hard.
Yeah.
Is anything you want that you don't have?
Well, I feel, to be brutally honest, the music I can hear in my head, I'm still very, very far from making that. So it's just, I just really have to be careful to concentrate my time and to continue. And if I'm lucky, I will maybe do it, you know, before yeah, sounds dramatic, but before I die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
What do you hear in your head? What music?
It's very hard to describe. I guess I would like it to be both a lot more better crafted and complicated, but at the same time a lot more spontaneous. So it's and still feel effortless. But then again, it's yeah, it's hard. I can't explain it.
Your voice, can you explain your voice?
I guess I don't think so much about my voice. Like I could talk to you for 4 hours about snare sounds, but my voice is maybe the thing that I try to leave out of this kind of analytical behavior.
I mean, you do that because it's healthier for you to do it that way, not to think about it, or because it doesn't interest you, or what?
I guess I sort of suspect that it's probably
that's not
a form of protection. I think so.
Because sometimes if you analyze something too much, you will affect its expression.
Yeah, and it's nice to when you go to the studio and you work and you work and you work and you're doing a mosaic and then the fact that you know that the voice is the wild thing that you just go and do in one take, and then you can go back to being anal. It's I like those worlds to be separated, you know?
Now, what is it to be anal? Be so obsessed with
detail.
Detail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be very mosaic, like.
Yeah, see, I think you're a lot like that.
Piece by piece
Aren't
by piece by yeah.
Very much that's part of you.
Side of me, for sure.
Yeah.
But that's why my voice is it has to be the opposite.
Yeah, free and just what? Wild.
Just not know.
Yeah.
Like you go in front of a microphone and you just don't know.
Yeah. But that is the magic that you have in the end. It's the voice. It is that the wildness and I mean, it is what. So.
Yeah, Well, that's
more than anything.
For me, that's the most important thing.
The voice.
Yeah, and I do all those things, the anal things, in order to be able to sing on top of it in one take.
Yeah.
It's like a very, 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 very long preparation for a 3-minute high, you know?
You do it all in one take?
Well, maybe I'm generalizing, but overall...
But the idea is...
Yeah, overall, most of my vocals are one takes, yeah.
And you just go into a studio and put on the headphones and hear the sounds and go?
Yeah, but obviously I've written the lyric and the melody most of the time before. So it's purely the singing that is a one take.
All right, we got a lot to talk about, so stay with me. Was this the original title of this album? Someone say it was once called Domestica?
Yeah, when I started to do it, I guess sometimes the working titles are almost like a tool, because it's sort of to unify everybody who are working with me on it. So I was trying to explain to people that I wanted it to be a love affair to the home, and on every level, that the noises were done around the house, the beats were done around the house, the singing was about being around the house, on every level of it, being with your friends, family, people you love, being on your own and lonely, or being on your own euphoric, kind of the whole range of being at home in your house.
Domestic.
Yeah, and sort of flirtation also with chamber music, and trying that the instruments I used were harp, celeste, and music boxes, which were kind of very sort of domestic musical instruments, if you want, that are sort of used to play to soothe the people you love. And also trying to connect that with laptops and computers, and which I think are tools that are now bringing the most exciting place on earth again. It's the home, and say, for example,
because they found a place in the home that makes it exciting for you.
Yeah, I think 100 years ago the most ideal place to hear live music was the home. I mean, people would play for each other, there'd be string quartets.
Chamber music too.
That sort of stuff. Actually, to go to a concert was quite a rare experience. Maybe most people would do that only a few times in their lives. Even the composers would only hear their pieces a few times, you know? But the most sort of on a regular basis as a nutrition, it was in the home. And then in the middle of the century, the most ideal music situation was maybe like rock and roll, or all that thing about amplifying a sound so it could reach the whole world, and you know, sort of the ideal, and maybe reach the peak in something like Woodstock, where hundreds of thousands of people were all having the same orgasmic experience. And then for me, feeling with computers and laptops, it's back to the home, you know, with DVD, and everybody, it doesn't matter what hobby you have, if it's collecting stamps or Marley Manson CDs, you know, it's the home, and also just sonically, you know, that it's not this kind of amplified experience that you go, you know, like to a gig and you can't speak, you know, to each other, which I actually love for sure, but it's actually on a level, especially with electronic noises, that they're on the volume that I could sing with the same level as I'm speaking to you now, and it could be heard. And there's place for like all the human emotions and around it, and people cooking and you know, just kind of domestic life.
On this tour you're engaged in, you're going to Europe, and then you're coming back to the United States. opening, I guess, at Radio City, or you'll be at Radio City here in New York. But you're also doing smaller venues without amplification?
But there's sort of electro-acoustic. There's sort of 50...
combination of electro and acoustic. I mean, acoustic and electric.
Yeah. So they have they have electronic beats, but on a very low volume. And I walk around, and sometimes I sing without microphone.
Yeah.
And sometimes with. So it's sort of trying to find that sort of. I like it when it blurs, you know, but it's sort of. Yeah.
You once said something about Vespertine in that some of the stuff was done in anticipation of the idea of Napster so that people could download it. What did you mean?
Yeah, I guess Vespertine was partly done like that. Just those kind of chats I have with my mates who do music too.
Yeah.
And they would complain about hearing the songs downloaded, and they would be like, "Ugh, you know, it's destroying my music." And I guess just the prankster in me saying, "Listen, you know, folk music was always about taking your environment and using it to do a tune. So our environment now is that. So those kind of limitations should be a turn on. You know, usually they are. The less freedom you have, it's sort of, you have to use more creative imagination, and it's sort of a turn on. So I guess I used the only acoustic instrument I used for the album were harps, celestes, and music boxes that actually, once downloaded, they sound even better, you know. And the voice, just the mood of the internet, for me is very secretive. And every time I get an email, I felt like somebody told me a secret. And it's very...
Did you like that?
I quite like that,
yeah.
yeah.
Me too. Yeah.
And that it's very... And my vocals are quite whispery.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of secretive. And actually that it's more like you know, the virtual reality aspect of it. It is actually more how things happen, our thought process, you know. Sort of, there's no oxygen, and it just goes, you know, like more electric sort of things. So it's so I kind of wanted to make the album a little bit like that it's not kind of physical and blood on the outside. It's kind of more internal. Yeah.
You love technology.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
You know, why do you say it like that? For sure. I mean, lots of artists not necessarily in love with it. You're in love with it because you like the power of it, the sound of it, the potential of it, everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tool, and I think humans are always scared of tools to begin with. You know, I think they were a bit scared of fire and the wheel, probably.
Sure.
And I remember seeing articles above old newspapers in
Artificial
Iceland.
intelligence scares people.
Yeah. And any tool that the humans have done have scared them at first, because they got this thing that they're going to take over them.
That's right. The fear is that it will be bigger than I am.
Yeah.
And smarter and bigger than I am, and I will lose control.
Yeah. Like, I remember seeing Icelandic newspaper clips from 100 years ago, when the telephone started, and they were like, "That's it, we're doomed. We're never going to talk face to face ever again."
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Human communication is over.
Yeah.
We're just going to be talking on the phone.
Sure.
And we are, that's true, but we still enjoy. Nothing will replace this.
How was this experience for you, this movie business? Now, this was not the first movie you'd been in, not the first acting you had done, but this is the one that had rather extraordinary people involved in.
Yeah.
Did you like it or not like it?
I really enjoyed making the music. Yeah.
Or did you?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Is that going to be your comment? I like the music, but that's all. Did you like the movie? The acting?
Oh, to act.
Yeah.
I think I enjoyed it at first.
But?
But not so much in the end.
Why?
Probably because I'd fallen in love with the girl I was acting, and I wanted to defend her, and I recognized a certain creative flight that happens when you are lucky and when the right elements are in the right place and things go bigger than you are and they take off.
Yeah.
And what you got to do is just let them do their thing and just be humble that is actually happening to you, you know? And I guess other people didn't agree with me on that one.
Including the director or not?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
All right, roll tape. Here are you in Dancer in the Dark, in which you play tell me your character.
Yep.
Who was this character you fell in love with?
She's a blind...
Factory worker?
Yeah, she's a blind, woman coach.
Describe the process of acting as one of extreme cruelty.
Well, I don't think it has to be.
But it was.
Yeah, I think creativity doesn't have to be cruel to be good, you know. I think it's a sign of impotency if you think you have to add cruelty to your work for it to be considered art. I think if you are confident enough in what you do, it should you would just let it, you would nurture it, you know, with positive energy. I'm that naive.
Do you want to do it again?
Well, the reason why I don't want to act again is not because of the film.
What is it?
Really. It's more that I feel my time is running out, and if I'm lucky, I've got 50 years, and I still haven't even touched the music.
What are you, 35?
Yeah, I still haven't even touched the music I want to write. And you have to be loyal and give yourself away to the music and your love to get some results, you know. I think sort of shallow, I'll try a bit of that, I'll try a bit of that, I'll try a bit of that. It's not gonna give good work, you know.
You know why I know that what you're saying is that I've had people come here to this program, and I would say, what do you regret most? And they would say, many of them, people that I admire would say, I regret that I was distracted and did other things that caught my fancy rather than focusing and concentrating on that thing that I did so uniquely well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is different from the idea of not smelling the roses, not having a life, not living a full life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because that's the worst thing you can do. I mean, if in fact your work,
Yeah.
if your work creates a breakdown in fully experiencing life, then it's counterproductive to
Yeah.
happiness and to lots of other things.
Yeah.
On the other hand, but to deny your gift is also, which is what you worry about, denying your gift. I mean, you don't like to think that way because you're more, I'm not sure you're modest, but you're more, you don't prefer to think in terms of denying your gift, but that's what it's about. You believe, you are a musician, and you love music, and you hear these sounds in your head, and it's not easy to give expression to them. Not easy.
Yeah, it's hard work.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to spend your life doing.
Yeah.
And why'd you say 50, though? I mean, you think you'll stop being creative at 50, or you just took a number?
No, 50 years left, so 85.
Oh, 50 left. Oh, 85. Oh, much better. Yeah. Oh, so 50, but it'll take you 50 years to find all the, to fully, gosh.
Yeah, and I also have to figure out a working method that I can use when I'm still like 70, because I won't be physically like strong then, you know, as strong, let's put it that way. Because my relatives, they're like 75, 80, and they're still running about.
They're running about.
Yeah, going
It's because
camping.
they've got that, yeah, going what, camping?
Yeah, hunting. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're all living in Iceland, too.
Yeah.
Maybe Iceland's good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how much time do you spend in Iceland?
It really depends. I was there for a year, 1 year ago, like a whole year. Then last year, let's say I've been there maybe over a period of 12 months, maybe altogether about 3, maybe.
3.
So, you know, it really depends. Like, but I really allow myself the luxury that if I wake up in the morning and I get like a craving, I just go, you know.
If you need to go to Iceland, you go.
Yeah, I just go.
Just get on a plane and go.
Yeah, and sometimes it's as easy as just go straight from the airport straight into the nature, put up a tent, or stay in a summer house on my own, have one walk around, sing top of my lungs, a couple of days, and I'm fine. And then I go back.
You got your cure and you can go back.
Yeah.
It's like having a treatment.
Yeah.
Or therapy.
Yeah.
It's like therapy.
Yeah. But
so Iceland is your psychiatrist.
Yeah, but sometimes you never know. I mean, I guess most of us are not from the big towns. So sometimes it's meeting your relatives, you know. You never know. Yeah, sometimes just a good talk or pancakes or, you know, can sort you out, you know.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you.
We will go out. There's a clip here from a music video. We will leave with that.
Okay.
Thank you very much. It's great to have you here.
Oh, thank you.
And much success with this album and this tour.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.